Good afternoon and welcome to Glad Tidings radio program, brought to you every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. here on 89.5 FM. This program is sponsored by the Baha'i Community of Australia. Baha'is are followers of the Baha'i faith, which is an independent world religion born 168 years ago, and whose teachings emphasize peace, unity, justice, and a life dedicated to the service of humanity. My name is Lynette, and my co-presenter today is Masood. Hello, Masood.
Hi, Lynette. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, today, Masood, we have a special treat for everyone. So I would like to introduce two people who are going to help us today with our special topic, which is marriage. So would you like to introduce yourselves?
Thanks for having us here. My name is Minoo Hatami. I am a relationship coach, and I'm delighted to be here today.
And my name is Jamshid Hatami, and I'm a marriage celebrant and a good learner in marriage. So I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here, and we're really looking forward to our interview. But before we have the interview, we're going to start with a prayer, and it's a prayer that is especially for the couple, the two people getting married. O my Lord, these two bright orbs are wedded in thy love, conjoined in servitude to thy holy threshold, united in ministering to thy cause. Make thou this marriage to be as threading lights of thine abounding grace, O my Lord, the all-merciful, and luminous rays of thy bestowals, O thou the beneficent, the ever-giving, that they may branch out from this great tree, boughs that will grow green and flourishing through the gifts that rain down from thy clouds of grace. Verily thou art the generous, verily thou art the almighty, verily thou art the compassionate, the all-merciful.
I was reading the other day in an article that the divorce rate in Australia is very high. It's actually the highest in the developed nations. Why do you think that the divorce is so high?
I think since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, because there has been so many changes in all different aspects of life, marriage is an area that has got affected quite negatively as well. And there are terms that you can see now that in years ago we didn't have them. For example, blended family, single families. These are stuff that they're very new. And I think because of so many changes that we've gone through and so many changes in different aspects of our life, that we really haven't been able to catch up with them and adjust to all the changes. As a result, I think, not being really ready and prepared, almost half of the marriages end up in divorce. And we all know that the consequences of the divorce is not only for the couple, but for their children and for the community and larger society as well. So these are things that I think. Is there anything that you would like to add, Jamshid?
Yeah, I may just build on what you mentioned, and that is these changes, of course, the humanity hasn't been able to cope with those changes and adapt. One of the things that I can mention, adding to what Minoo said, is that the marriage in the past has been a marriage of dependency. And it worked very well for thousands of years. Either women depend on men and men depend on women. So it worked to some degree. But from the time that humanity starts knowing that they need to work in an equal base, and equality of sexes came to being, which is something we cannot deny it anymore. There are some challenges, and those challenges cannot work with dependency anymore. So the marriages should change, should be actually transform themselves into interdependency, which is a much better way of living.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I would like to add also that in the Baha'i writing, marriage has been referred to as a sacred institution. and also a fortress for well-being and salvation. If you can imagine a fortress, to me it comes as a very strong building, that the aim of that is protecting the inhabitants of the fortress and also providing for their well-being as well. And as a couple, you need to do some real work in terms of building the fortress, maintaining it, and in addition to making it beautiful. As days goes on, make it more and more beautiful. In my view, the reason why the divorce rate is so high, because we haven't adjusted to all the changes. And as humanity in general, we are all in a transitional stage. And to me, it seems as we've got one foot in the past and one foot in the present. And really consciously, we haven't caught up with where we are. And in order to for a marriage to work, we need to stay present, focused, and do whatever it needs for it to work. The Baha'i writing gives a clear purpose for the institution of marriage and offers a wonderful solution for the problem of divorce. The purpose of marriage, as I can see in the Baha'i writing, is bringing up children who will remember God, and also for the husband and wife to support each other's spiritual growth. And together, this institution could contribute to the building of an ever-advancing civilization. And the core of this belief is that as humans, we are a spiritual being and having a physical body, that the physical body works as a temple for our soul. So there is a purpose for our life, and there is a purpose for our marriage as well. And the other analogy that I can use is thinking of marriage as a journey. For a journey, we need to have clear understanding on where we are going and what is our purpose. For example, if for this weekend, Jamshid and myself are going to Sydney, we need to be clear on why we are going. We know that we are going to see a musical there, and then deciding on either to go by plane or by car. And if you are going by car, then we need to have our GPS set so we don't get lost on the way. And have the necessary equipment or the necessary skills there. If the car gets, for example, we get a flat tire, then we are able to change it and know the basic of the driving and how the car functions. The same is for the marriage as well. We need to have a purpose in mind, and what is the purpose of this marriage, and have the right knowledge and the skills to be able to adjust and work through it so it could successfully achieve its purpose. I've talked a lot. Would you like?
You did actually. Can I just go quickly? I don't want to spend too much time on this question. Maybe you have other questions. But in regards to the spiritual growth, I thought it's good to mention that, of course, when we get married, everybody who gets married, they have that attraction towards each other, and they have that love, and it starts with a good feeling. And of course, the children come around, but all these becomes a way of growth, if we can see it that way. And there is no other way to grow rather than to challenge our assumptions, to challenge our understandings, and to learn more. So in this case, when my partner says something that I don't like, instead of starting a fight with her, I may think that maybe she has a point. Maybe there is a way that I can grow through that and help her also to grow. So these challenges, I think it comes to marriage for a reason. And if we can see the reason for those challenges, we can learn from them and go ahead.
Very good point. So it means as if I'm challenging you,
which you do,
then you need to take it on board and think through that and what is it. And then if I'm saying something that maybe, or you saying something that is challenging for me to reflect on and see what's the point in there.
Certainly. We have been doing this for years and we continue doing that.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you think the modern life, the busy life that and we are constantly bombarded with things, information and different way of doing things, there's a strain on couples. Do you think that is a big factor in divorce?
I think it is. It is one of the big factors, the stress of life and the pressure that we have and the pace of life as well. And yet I think, if we are clear on what we want, we could adjust to the situation and we can make rooms for different things. But of course, it's not easy as years ago or maybe 100 years ago that life was much more simpler. Now the pressures on every side is much more. And yet, this is our challenge. We have a blueprint. We know what the purpose of life is here, and we know what the purpose of marriage is here. So our work is somehow to make it work. And we can't just escape from that and say, no, it's too hard. It's challenging, and yet we can do it. And there are lots of people that they have achieved that too.
So, Minoo, could you just summarize briefly for us, what are the root causes of divorce?
I think there are three main elements there. The first one is lack of knowledge. The second one is lack of skills. And the third one is lack of commitment to work through things and to stick together in the ups and downs of the marriage.
Yes, so...
I may add something to it as well. I think one of the reasons is we are living in a normalist society. So as a result, there is no norm for marriage and many other things. So people start making their own norms and making their own way of the way they like to live. And as a result, they have some challenges which they haven't faced before and nobody else have faced before because every individual is different. So that can be one of them. And the other one, individualism. I think the way that the society is going, the individual becomes so engaged in what he or she wants, which the issue of doing something for somebody else or committing themselves to somebody else or to an institution, which is the marriage, becomes more difficult.
So typically, when two young people, or may not even be young, but when two people first get married, they're in that sort of aura of romance and very much in love, and their lives practically just seem to follow each other. But later on, they seem to go through. Most marriages, I think, would probably go through difficult stages, and some couples may start to argue a lot. They may even get to the point where they just can't stand the sight of each other. Do you think that is normal? Do you think that is something that does happen? And what do you think couples can do to prepare for marriage and to go into marriage with realistic expectations without that sort of romantic ideal that they come up with reality and realize that's not Prince Charming or Princess Gorgeous or whatever? What do you think?
I think it's a very good question, this one. And I think, just with my studies and training and experiences, and it seems as marriage, like any other living organisms, goes through developmental phases. And these developmental phases are very sort of normal and common in a sense. And yet, when we are not aware of them, they can scare us quite a lot. The stages, although they are not very definite and marked, but yet they are somehow in every marriage are present. And the phases, I can say that the first one that all of us we are familiar is the romantic phase or honeymoon phase, that everything is rosy and beautiful and nothing, you can find nothing, not any fault in the other, and everything seems to be perfect, that we've known each other for a long time and we love each other so much, and in a sense everything is just beautiful, isn't it? On that phase, nothing can disturb us. And yet gradually as time goes on and as we are committed to each other and we are in the safety of the relationship, then we enter the second phase, which is noticing the differences, and a sort of power struggle kicks in. And that phase is really difficult. And most marriage breakup actually happens in this stage as well. And it could be, between the second year of marriage up to maybe 10, 12, or for sometimes it could be much longer as well. So this is a very sensitive time that the couple are facing, and you could be seeing that, your first or second child is born, and you have a mortgage, and you have the pressure of developing your career work-wise, or you might need to move from city to city or from country to country. So there could be lots of changes happening, and at the same time, we are not ready for that, and we think, that is the end of the world, and all these power struggle seems very difficult. And yet, this is a very normal stage of the development of the relationship. So in this stage, possibly, what helps is being aware that what is happening around us and having the skills to cope with them. And the last phase the last phase is about accepting of each other, accepting the differences, and coming to terms on who each of us are in this marriage and working together to make it better and better. So these are my views.
No, certainly.
Good if you can get to that third stage rather than faltering in the second stage. Yeah.
Yes, definitely, yes. And it's not easy. Yes, Jamshid, do you want to say something?
Yeah, the third stage can be the spiritual growth, if I can call it that way. In the first stage that Minoo mentioned, actually the hormone releases inside the body makes us actually blind. Yeah, makes us blind because love is blind, it has been said. And we don't see the problem, we don't see the differences. But this stage cannot continue, those hormone releases cannot continue. Some years ago when we were studying this and the chemical of oxytocin which is released in the body is the same chemical which is released when somebody is mad. So it's insane, yeah. It's to a degree, depends on how much it's really. But it's interesting that we cannot see the reality because of that love, that good feeling, that an attraction that we feel in that sense. But the same points of interest, the same points that we love from each other, when we go to the second part, which is the differences, become the challenges. Then you can see the different person. You can see that even though they haven't changed, but you see some other thing that you couldn't see before. And those are the one that Minoo mentioned, that is the point of a lot of divorces. But working through that, as you mentioned, is actually the art. That every couple have a chance to do that and learn from each other, learn from their challenges, and grow spiritually. And I don't mean that to sit and pray, but I mean just spiritually grow, which is the real love. Have the real love for each other, for humanity, to serve together, to help the children, and to be a good citizen, if I can put it that way. And honesty and frankness are one of those virtues which is needed in those stages.
So it's almost as if the two individuals in the marriage are actually, through their marriage, are actually growing and developing in a way that they may not have been able to do if they were single. And if we just looked at it in that perspective, the marriages might have a better chance. So do you think that, if people had a perspective or this kind of expectation that they will grow and develop within the relationship, and that the marriage is something that needs, as you say, it's a fortress. It needs to be built. It needs to be maintained. So almost looking at marriage as if it's the third entity in the partnership, that it needs to be nurtured, and understanding that there will be challenges, but these will help them to grow. It's a very good way of looking at it.
Yes, definitely. I think, just the nurturing is something that should be constant. In the first phase with the romantic love, without, just any effort, you are constantly nurturing each other and appreciating each other and depositing in each other's emotional bank account. And this is a really positive and needed phase of the development of the marriage as well, because without that, later on, when things get difficult and hard, you have that strong sort of foundation, something there that you can think through, think back and say, oh, we had this, and it's possibility that we can get back to it. So that's very good work that is happening on that part in terms of nurturing and making, developing that strong bond between each other. But at the same time, in the second phase, which there is a power struggle, because you are noticing all the differences, automatically you are withdrawing your love. And this doesn't help the marriage, because the nurturing should be there, and yet at the same time, working through the differences and coming to grip of I and we. And as you mentioned, the marriage as a third entity, and how we can nurture it, and how we can help this small plant to grow and become strong. If we could imagine, just when we first marry, we have a tender plant, small seedlings or plant, that it requires lots of caring and lots of giving it water and nutrients and looking after it, so it can become a strong tree. And with a strong tree, as it develops its root, then nothing can disturb it. The strongest storm or thunder, whatever, it doesn't affect it. But the tender plant, it gets affected. So the nurturing and caring and loving it and supporting it, it helps it to grow and mature more.
Minoo mentioned about the emotional bank account, and I'd like to tell you what she meant by that. Any relationship is like starting a bank account. And that bank account you cannot withdraw if you don't deposit. So when you deposit, you have something to withdraw. So when you love somebody, it's a $1 million deposit in that bank account. When you remember the birthday, is probably $100,000 deposit. But if you do something which is not nice, it's a withdrawal. As long as you have deposit, you can withdraw. But if you don't have enough deposit and withdraw, the account goes in red figures, bankrupt. And that's where the problem occurs, because there is not enough love to forget the shortcomings. There's not enough attention to the marriage to overcome that problem, that fault. And so it's, as Minoo mentioned, it's good to deposit. It's good to keep depositing in the marriage.
What happens when a couple realizes that their bank accounts are way overdrawn? Can they do anything when their marriages are in trouble? What can they do?
Yes, I think in that stage they need to stop withdrawing and depositing more, because we know if with the or normal bank account, if our bank statement is on the red state, we can't withdraw anymore. Then the bank account would be closed and we are in trouble. So with our marriage as well, we need to stop withdrawing and start nurturing it. And something that also we need to be conscious is that we try to remedy it by ourselves, but if it doesn't work out, then we need to get help. Like when we are getting sick, for example, when we get sick with a cold or flu, first we try to have a rest and use some home remedies, maybe, have some soup and things that we think, is helping us. But if it takes us a while, maybe a few days has passed and we are not getting better or symptom getting worse, then it's time that we go to doctor. And we are aware that if, for example, if we develop pneumonia, then that's quite a serious thing that we need to go to the doctor, get antibiotics or whatever is needed in order to overcome that. It might need that we need to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital and we are looked after there and then we recover. God forbids, if we don't treat it, we might even die from a pneumonia. To me, marriage problems are the same. First, we need to try to fix it ourselves between the husband and wife. You need to sit and talk and see what you can do about it and what sort of action that you can take that is helping you, and give it a try, give it a good try. And if it doesn't work, then it's time that you need to go to a professional person and get help.
I may actually add something. When a marriage or a relationship is in trouble, it sounds like this. You did that. You said that. I don't like you. I am sick of that, whatever has happened. And why are you doing that? Why are you and why and what and I and you? To remedy that, we need to change the approach. The approach can be, what can we do to overcome? And the I and you becomes we. It's like the relationship is a unit, which when a problem comes between the husband and wife, if that problem stays between them, so husband is in one side, wife is in another side, and they look to each other through that problem, because problem is right in the middle. But if they change, one of them change side at least to go to the other side, and they look at the problem together as our problem, then they can find solution, not your problem. And I think that's a very, very essential part of solving any problem in marriage.
And what sorts of things do you think that if they were to have to go to a marriage guidance counselor, what sorts of solutions could they be given professionally?
In my practice, how I deal with it is, first, I use a set of questionnaire that husband and wife separately, they answer the questions, and then we can sit together and see, for example, there are some questions that it's got rating and some questions got some comments to write. And then husband and wife, they sit together and we can discuss and see the differences. And then we can together, the three of us, will identify where the couple wants to go. Where is their destination or their goal, and where they are right now, and how we can fill the gap. What sort of action needs to be taken in order to reach that goal? So, and discussing it together and seeing, what plan we could have and what can be done between this week and that week, next week, for example, and then come back and review and reflect on how the progress is happening. These are the things that can help us in general. I think, for any couple as well, if they want to work through things for themselves, first needs to have a vision. What is their vision or their goal? And then where they are right now. And what are the actions that they can take in order to reach that goal?
Sounds very practical. Do you have anything to add to that, Jamshid?
No, I think that was perfect. That was some yeah.
So it seems that there would have to be a willingness for both partners to really work through if they have problems. What happens then if their goals are different? If they just seem to be totally diverging rather than going parallel in the same direction? Does that mean there is a point of no return? Is that when the marriage does break up?
Yes, I think there is a possibility, and it happens, that they realize that their goals are different. What they want to do with their lives is different. And as a result, they break up, and divorce happens in that sense. But there is a possibility that the reason that they don't feel good about each other is that they haven't worked their own issues. And if the couple works through learning from the challenges, even if they end up in divorce, but they have learned that lesson for their next relationship. And some of the relationships, some of the marriages actually breaks up without learning that lesson, and as a result, they repeat it in the next relationship. And they don't learn over there, and they may continue to the third one, and so on. So there is, in any challenge, there is a lesson. And as long as we learn that lesson, we can grow.
It sounds very much like prevention is better than cure. So we go back full circle to preparation, don't we, really, and the importance of preparation and thinking about your joint goal, your destination, before you actually head into the marriage. I think that would be a better way to do it, rather than having to suddenly come up against a big problem that can't be overcome. But I think that, from what you've been saying, there are very practical ways to overcome these challenges, and that anyone facing any problem in marriage doesn't have to see it purely as something that can't be overcome. There are certain solutions that can be found. If they, as you said, Jamshid, if they stop saying you this, so the accusations and saying I want this and I want that and you never do this and you always do that, is actually very counterproductive, isn't it? So if they just think of what can we do to solve this problem, then there is some hope.
Yeah, when the trouble comes, both parties, they think that the best, maybe they both think, the best is just to break it.
Yes.
The best is to get out of it. Yeah. That's the easiest way, but it's not the most beneficial way for both of them if they haven't worked on the issues. I better have my tea.
Yes. Yes. I think you're right, Lynette, in terms of not having preparation and not having enough education could cause lots of issues. I haven't seen much marriage education around, and yet you can imagine, if someone if you want to get a driver license, you need to go through driving school, have certain hours of practice, and first pass the theory. You need to study the booklet and pass the theory, and then pass the practical exams. And this is just a driving a car, driving in the road. Of course, it's important to have for the safety of your own and for safety of the other drivers on the road to be a good driver. And Yet, if you could compare driving with your marriage, your life, that 24 hours 7, you are with somebody, and you need to work through things, and then you have kids, and the effect of that, if your relationship is going well, you are happy, your kids are happy, and your community is happy, everyone is benefiting. And of course, when it's not working, then you are unhappy, your kids are not happy, and the effects, goes everywhere. The ripple effects goes to everyone and everywhere. So it's much better prevention, as you said, it's much better than cure. But in case if we haven't got enough preparation or education beforehand, then at least know how to remedy it and how to cure the issue.
So we need marriage for dummies. We need a rule book. What do you think?
That's what I was going to ask. How do couples get education? What avenues are there for them?
There are plenty of resources available. There are counselors and relationship coaches that they have done a specific training, and they've got these material and resources and that can help you guys and every couple, just to have the right skills and knowledge. Like when you want to go to school in first grade, you've got a teacher and you go through some lessons and learn through, and gradually, step by step, you go to higher classes and degrees. For marriage, it's not the same as a school. A counselor or a coach doesn't work with you like a teacher in a school, but can help you to provide you with all the resources that needs for you to have a successful relationship, and to be aware and have the right skills and have the right preparation and the knowledge that, yes, if this is happening, this is a sign. If I'm not happy, or if my partner is not happy, then there is a sign. And what is that we can do about it? Take it as a symptom. Taking it as a symptom maybe for a cold or flu. If I've got, just my nose is, how do you say? Running, then it's a symptom that I've got the cold and I need to be more careful and keep myself warm and stay more inside, and after a few days I get over it. The same with the marriage issues as well. For every symptom or sign, there is something that we can think of, what is it and what is telling me, and based on that take the remedy or work through things.
I think there are books, there are movies, there are educational materials that one can get and learn through it, because we all learn differently. Some of us we learn by reading, some others we learn by listening, some others we learn by feeling, experience, and so on. So as long as we can discover, each one of us, we can discover the mode of learning that we like, and there are a lot of material to watch, to read, to learn, to discuss, and of course, as Minoo said, going to the courses, marriage workshops. We run a marriage workshop all weekends, which the whole weekend we talk about these topics. And sky is the limit, how much you can learn. We keep learning, even us, that we have done this for almost 15, 20 years now. We keep learning. We keep learning about ourselves.
Now, you probably know this. I'm a single guy, and I'm looking for a partner. So what do you think I should look for a partner? What are these days, it is very hard to, in the old days, it was very easy, like either your parents made the decisions but these days you have to look for personalities, for similar interests and things like that, and it's becoming harder and harder. What do you think I should look for in a partner, and how should I approach finding a good partner?
I think the first thing is that you need to be aware of who you are and then what is that you want. And of course, you can't plan out every step of the way, but having the basic understanding of what is that you want in a marriage partner, or in other words, what are some of your non-negotiable in a partner, I think that's very important. Otherwise, you can just be attracted to whoever comes along your way, and we know that this could cause later on problems, because if you don't have a similar vision and similar goals in life, then your marriage could be in real trouble. So identifying what are your non-negotiable, and that if one of them are not present, then that could cause real trouble for your marriage.
Can you give an example of that, Minoo? What would be a non-negotiable, for example? I know it would be different for everybody, but it would have to be something quite strong, wouldn't it?
Yes, definitely. For each person could be a little bit different, but at the same time, for example, if for Masood is loyalty is very important, he needs to really have this element there, in the future partner. And if he notices, for example, the prospect that he's thinking is not quite loyal or is not faithful, then this might not work for him. So this is something that he should be in his list of priorities or non-negotiables. Okay. And in the Baha'i writings, there are 4 steps or 4 different specific areas that are identified in terms of, just choosing a partner. The first one is knowing yourself, and then choosing someone who is pleasing to you. And after that, after you've, chosen someone who's pleasing to you, you need to know the character of the person, and finally get the consent of the parents. Oh. Yes. So, Jamshid, do you want to add anything here?
Yes, basically, based on what you mentioned, I think it's very good that every single person can go through that stage of self-knowledge. Who am I? What I want in life? What's important for me? What are my goals? And this doesn't come easy, because as long as if we don't work on it, if we don't work to learn about ourselves, it will be hidden. And we don't discover ourselves, let alone somebody else. After that stage, of course, knowing the love must come in. Love somehow must come in. Somebody who can be pleasing to you may arrive, and as a result, that gives momentum to other parts of the process, which is knowing the character of that person, which is very important. Without that, there will be a lot of problems in the future. Knowing the plans, what plans she has, what plan he has for future, what they want to do, each one of them individually, and discuss even the children, discuss work, discuss travel, and many different things that may come up. And without doing that, if they commit themselves to marriage, then they need to work on those challenges later.
Yes, Masood, I would like to add also that something that maybe you can consider is after you've identified these non-negotiable in a partner, the future partner, then when you are getting to know somebody, you should not minimize any signs that is a bit, just could be telling you
any
that
warning signs.
Any warning signs. You should not minimize them. You should really be conscious that this is very important stage, and this is the process is very important, and try to balance your head and heart I know that is a bit difficult because when we are in love, then we can be really blind to lots of things. At the same time, it's very important to have the objectivity, and maybe just asking some of the close friends and your family as well that these are my non-negotiable or my requirement for a marriage. And if you notice something in the person that I'm getting to know, just let me know. Or if I'm behaving in a way that is not appropriate, just let me know. So you have a sort of support around you. Because we know that when, as I think, last time Jamshid mentioned it as well, when we feel in love, there are about lots of chemical. I think, there are about 12 types of chemical that are released in the body. And all of them that cause you to go blind and not to stay objective. And one of the people that has done lots of research in the field, her name is Helen Fisher. And if you go on the site, you can see her work. And in one of the work that she has done through MRI of the brain and the scan of the brain, it shows the brain of the wave of the person who is in love is exactly like the person who is on drugs. And in a way, just you're affected, and this hormonal stuff are affecting you, and that could be really having some negative effect on your decision making. So staying somehow objective is very important.
And maybe that's why the consent of parents, which is one of the Baha'i conditions for marriage, becomes very important, because parents love their children. And as a result, they can help them actually to be more objective.
It's very interesting what you said just now and last week as well about the chemical oxytocin, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but oxytocin is one of the hormones involved in breastfeeding.
Yes.
And isn't it interesting that, that this is released as a woman breastfeeds, because you actually need to be crazy in love with this little parasite, this baby, because there's a lot of sacrifice involved. And I think this might predispose women to being able to show that unconditional love, perhaps. I don't know. And hopefully men have a bit of oxytocin going through their veins as well.
Yes. So this concept of the consent, I think, is for really good reason here, because the parents would not be as in love with the person that, for example, you could be, Masood. And then they can keep that objectivity. And there could be times that they might not agree with your choice. And what shall you do on those cases? Possibly, you can ask them why. Why is it that you're not agreeing with my choice, and what is that you see? And they could, just by reason telling you, what are their reason. And if you're convinced, it's fine. And most of the time you might not be convinced because you are in love. And then you can maybe ask them, just if they could give it a bit more time in order to know the character of the person a bit better, and maybe they could later on reconsider their decision. And if after a while, still they are quite, on that path of not agreeing, then you could have the choice of still insisting, or you might say, prayer and stay detached for it, that the right decision and the right choice might come up for you. And in my practice, I've noticed or witnessed actually a few cases that the parents were not agreeing with the choice of their son or daughter's choices. And I remember in the beginning, I remember vividly one of them, that he was so distressed and upset when he noticed that the parents are not giving consent, and he was insisting, and he noticed, no, they're not giving in. So he was very upset for a while, and then finally decided, okay, grieving is enough, and I need just to move on. And it happened that after a year or so, he met somebody, and he fell in love again, and asked for consent. And this time, the parents agree, and he got married. And we saw that he was really happy this time, and he was thankful to his parents for the first time not giving consent. So I think, there is lots of wisdom having the consent of the living parents for the choice of your parents, for the choice of your future partner.
And of course, the consent gives a lot of responsibility to the parents, not to act on their assumptions, but in reality. And so that's a good way that the parents can grow through that process as well.
Why single people sometimes are reluctant to get married? Why are they reluctant to take that step? Perhaps they are already in a relationship, it's an ongoing relationship, but they don't want to make the commitment. Perhaps they just think that it's better to be single. Why do you think that's the case?
The relationship problems or challenges are not simple. They are often complex, and we cannot find a single answer for it. But in reality, there are several that we can mention. The one that I'm interested mentioning it is that in life there are stages. Like any other organism, that they go through stages in life. A seed can be one day in the stage of seedness, then grows to a shoot, then grows to a plant, and then grows maybe to a tree, and so on. And these stages doesn't work if they don't finish one stage and start the other one. By mentioning that, I just wanted to bring the example of life. A child cannot become an adult if he is still childish. We have a lot of adults that they are childish, but they haven't grasped that idea of they need to finish that stage in order to be better functioning in the new stage. The stage of singleness must terminate in order that a stage of couplehood being started. So if a person or a couple don't finish that stage and they start their couplehood together, that causes some problems. I don't mean that they don't need to be individuals. Individualism is always there. They can have that section for themselves because they cannot function in a relationship if they are not complete individuals. But if they want to live as a single but be in a relationship, that causes problems. And that's, I think, is one of the reasons that people are reluctant to commit. It's lack of commitment in a way. The other reasons can be the examples around them and the rate of divorce that they can see, and they are in a kind of afraid of getting to that relationship, afraid of pain. And there can be some more that I leave to Minoo to discover.
Yeah, I think in addition, not having good role models. And if a person has been raised in a family that the parents' relationship were not good, and there was always fight and bitterness, then they automatically are scared. They don't want to get into the same situation. The other matter could be, for being reluctant, could be what media portrays, and all the stories that we see on TV or here in the news or radio is mostly about unsuccessful and unhappy and traumatic and different issues of affair and all the negativity there. And hardly we have some positive role models. role models that there are marriages that they are successful, and know exactly what has happened to them, what they've done that their marriage is successful. It seems as media doesn't go after these sort of positive and constructive stories. It's mostly after negative one. The other factor that I think, single people could be reluctant to commitment could be about too much emphasis in the society about materialism and less focus on the spirituality and what are the most important things in life. I remember years ago we were in China and we noticed that the young people would say, I can't get married. And we would ask, why? We were doing a marriage workshop and we asked, why you can't get married? They would say that, especially for the boys, that because if I don't have a house, the girl's family would not accept me and I need to have a house. So I feel as, these sort of expectations are very hard, and why should be too much emphasis on the materialism, that the reality, we are here just for a short time in this planet Earth, and what we accumulate is worth nothing. Although, the living a comfortable life is important, but not for the price of not living the life. And I think, the last thing that could be related to single people being reluctant for a marriage is about their own lack of self-esteem and thinking well of themselves and settling for whatever comes in there along the way and not being clear exactly on what is that they want and standing for it and going after that one.
Questions that couples ask is compatibility, both physically as well as mentally and spiritually, and character, as you mentioned. So how do they explore these aspects when they grow in the relationship?
Yeah, that's quite interesting subject as well. Years ago, I remember, everyone would say that the couple needs to live together for a while till they see each other in different settings, and if they are compatible physically, emotionally, intellectually, in all that different aspect. And even, maybe for years they live together. But it's very interesting with some research, especially in England, that came up a few years ago. And that was for the couple that they've been in a de facto relationship. When they got married, their rate of their divorce was much double amount of the one that they haven't lived together. So this was quite puzzling. So why it's happening? Because if they have lived together, so they have known each other, so why this should happen? It seems as with the commitment of marriage, with the covenant that comes in, and with the commitment, then there is a different dimension or a different level of trust and intimacy that the partner enter, which doesn't exist beforehand. Beforehand, when they are just living together, their situation is much more different. They could be together for a longer time, or they could decide at any time to break it up. And if they break it up, the grieving is there. They would grieve the loss, but yet they can't mourn it publicly because it's not acknowledged as much. But the person who goes through the process of divorce, their grief is much more acknowledged, and this is more acceptable in the society. So in terms of getting to know each other, in terms of physically, that's not a security for living together and then be safe that, yes, we are compatible. The best possibly is that they work through things later on in terms of their intimacy and sexual stuff. Most often that they need to do some work to find out and understand each other better by consulting and by talking through things. And in terms of the intellectual and social compatibility, still there are chances that they can discuss and they can go to a movie, for example, and then discuss how did you like the movie, what was that you like, and there are several ways that they can find out more about each other.
I think the issue of compatibility is partly resolved through love. Because when the attraction comes, the attraction brings a lot of compatibility with it. In terms of liking each other, in terms of being attracted to each other. And by doing things together, they found out more about each other. Now, I don't want to dismiss completely the issue of compatibility, but I want to bring to our audience's mind an idea that when we are entering into a relationship, as I mentioned earlier, we need to finish, almost die in a stage of singlehood and start a stage of couplehood. If I come to this relationship with the idea of my way, and she comes to this relationship with the idea of my way as well, then we'll have a lot of malfunction in compatibility. But if we are interested to find out about our way, then we can make it. We can make it and we can learn and find out new areas of compatibility that we haven't thought about it before.
Now, before we finish, here's just a little extract from some of the Baha'i writings about what marriage should be like. In this glorious cause, the life of a married couple should resemble the life of the angels in heaven, a life full of joy and spiritual delight, a life of unity and concord, of friendship, both mental and physical. The home should be orderly and well organized. Their ideas and thoughts should be like the rays of the sun of truth and the radiance of the brilliant stars in the heavens. Even as two birds, they should warble melodies upon the branches of the tree of fellowship and harmony. They should always be elated with joy and gladness, and be a source of happiness to the hearts of others. They should set an example to their fellow men, manifest a true and sincere love towards each other.